the singer who sang at a jinn wedding. The oud trembled in Noora's hands as she sang the first verse. The sound floated into the grand hall, warm at first, but something in it felt wrong. The walls seemed to drink the music instead of echoing it. Before her stood a bride veiled in shimmering silver, and beside her a groom whose eyes glowed faintly yellow beneath the lantern light. Around them, guests in flowing black robes clapped softly, each movement perfectly timed, perfectly still. Noora's voice quivered, though she didn't know why. The rhythm of the clapping was hypnotic slow, hollow mechanical. It was not the joyful applause she knew from human weddings. It was the sound of something old, patient, and watching. Noora had sung for years in Kuwait City. Weddings were her livelihood. The laughter, the gold bangles clinking, the aroma of cardamom tea, all familiar comfort. But this night felt different from the moment the phone rang. Hours earlier, she had been preparing for bed when the call came. A man's voice calm, polite, spoke with unusual formality. "Madam Noora, we would be honored if you sang for a private wedding tonight. It is far from the city. You will be paid double." "Tonight?" she asked. "So late?" "Yes," the voice replied. "The family insists. You must come before midnight." It was strange, but money was tight. She and her small band, Jamal the oud player, Yusuf the violinist, and Sammy on drums needed every job they could get. They loaded their instruments into the van and drove beyond the lights of the city, toward the endless desert road. After nearly an hour, they found it, a grand mansion standing alone under a silver moon. The gate was open as though expecting them. Silent servants waited, faces expressionless, movements too smooth. They did not speak, only gestured the musicians inside. The hall was breathtaking yet unsettling. The ceiling arched high, painted with a night sky full of stars that seemed to flicker. Incense burned from golden bowls, sweet at first, then metallic. Carpets of red and gold stretched endlessly, their patterns shifting if you stared too long. Noora tried to focus on her music. "Let's just play," she whispered to Jamal. "We'll finish quickly and go." Then the guests began to arrive. Men in robes of deep silver and women veiled in jewels that reflected no light. They glided across the floor, their feet making no sound. Not a cough, not a breath, just silence. Finally, the bride and groom entered. They were taller than most humans. The bride's veil shimmered as if alive. The groom's skin looked too smooth, his eyes like amber coals. Noora's pulse quickened. The crowd began clapping softly, rhythmically, hollowly. Noora lifted her oud and her voice rose. It was a love song, a safe one she'd sung hundreds of times. The notes should have filled the air with warmth. Instead, they fell heavy, like pebbles sinking into water. The guests swayed in unison. Their faces were hard to see beneath their veils, but glimpses made Noora's stomach twist, mouths too wide. Smiles that didn't reach their eyes. She kept singing, pretending not to notice. Then the hum began. A deep vibration spread through the room, not from her band, but from the guests. They were humming not a tune, but a sound that made the walls tremble. It grew louder, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. The bride tilted her head toward the ceiling. The groom's grin widened. Jamal whispered, "Stop playing, Noora. Stop." But before she could, a tall servant appeared beside her. His skin was pale like candle wax, his eyes black and bottomless. "Continue," he said softly. "You were invited. The house must be pleased." Noora's throat was dry. Out of instinct and fear, she obeyed. But instead of the wedding song, she began humming something else, something her mother had taught her long ago. It was a prayer song, a simple melody said to protect travelers from unseen harm. She sang it quietly, trembling, but the hum in the hall softened. The guests froze. The red in their eyes dimmed. The groom turned slowly toward her. "That song," he said, his voice layered with echoes, "does not belong here." Noora's hands trembled. It's just a prayer." The bride took a step forward, veil fluttering though there was no wind. "A gift for the bride," she whispered, voice like water over stones. A servant appeared again, holding a small silver ring. "Take it," he said, "to remember this night." The ring was icy cold, heavy in her palm. When she closed her hand, It pulsed once like a second heartbeat. The groom turned to the guests. "Now," he said, "the final dance." The humming began again, faster this time. The air thickened, lights flickering. The ceiling stars spun slowly, then faster like a whirlpool. The guests moved in circles, twisting, bending backward, their shadows stretching across the walls. Noora tried to find Jamal, but he had disappeared into the mass of moving figures. Then darkness. Every lantern died at once. The humming stopped. For a heartbeat, the silence was absolute. Then a whisper brushed Noora's ear. "Run." She turned toward the sound. A faint outline of the bride stood before her, veil glowing faintly in the dark. The voice came again, almost human now. "Run, singer, before the house closes." Noora didn't wait to understand. She stumbled forward, hitting a pillar, clutching her oud strap until it snapped. She felt hands graze her arms cold, smooth, too many fingers. Someone screamed behind her, maybe Jamal. Then air, a breeze, a door. She fell forward, slamming into the sand outside. The desert wind hit her face, dry and real. When she looked back, the mansion's windows were dark. No sound, no movement. Then a voice spoke from the shadows near the gate. It was the servant. He bowed slightly, expressionless. "You are guests under our roof," he said. "You leave under our roof. That is the law." "What are you?" she gasped. "What happened in there?" The servant tilted his head. "The law is older than doors," he said. "Go, singer. Do not look back until sunrise. Do not speak the groom's name. And do not sing the song that wakes the house for 40 nights. Before she could reply, he was gone. Noora turned toward the endless road. Jamal stumbled out behind her, face pale, eyes wide. They ran. They didn't stop until dawn broke and their shadows touched their feet. When they finally turned back, the mansion was gone. Only sand stretched behind them. Noora awoke in her apartment 2 days later, unsure how she'd gotten there. Jamal said a passing truck driver had picked them up at dawn, but neither remembered climbing aboard. Within a week, 2 of their bandmates were found alive, but shaken. Yusef was discovered asleep in the back of an instrument shop. Sammy was found at his doorstep, eyes red, mumbling about a door that sang. The last member, Fidel, was never seen again. The police called it exhaustion, a hallucination brought on by heat. But Noora knew better. The silver ring on her nightstand pulsed faintly in the dark. She stopped singing. Days turned to weeks. The phone rang with offers, but she refused them all. At night, she dreamed of the mansion, its red carpets breathing, the groom's yellow eyes, the humming. Sometimes she woke to find the ring warm against her skin. On the 40th night, she walked to the sea. The air was heavy with salt. Waves whispered across the sand like quiet applause. She opened her hand and looked at the ring under the fading moon. "Keep it," said a voice behind her. Noora turned. A woman stood ankle-deep in the surf, her face shadowed by the dawn. Her veil shimmered faintly like silver. "Who are you?" Noora whispered. "A guest," said the woman. "From the other side of the door. Keep the ring. It will not harm you if you honor the old laws." "What laws?" "Never boast of what you've seen. Never sing the song that wakes the house. And never accept an invitation without a name." The woman turned toward the sea, and the waves swallowed her shape. Noora closed her hand. The ring was warm again. She went home and placed it in a small wooden box. For the first time since that night, she slept without dreams. Years passed. Noora lived quietly. The city changed. Her legend grew. People whispered about the singer who performed for the unseen. Some said she'd gone mad. Others claimed she'd been blessed by the spirits. Noora never corrected them. Sometimes she would hear a faint hum in the silence between midnight and dawn. When that happened, she whispered the old prayer song under her breath, not singing, only speaking, so the sound would not travel. One afternoon, a young musician knocked on her door. "Andy Noora," he said, "they say you once sang for a jinn wedding. Is it true?" She smiled faintly. "People say many things." "Then tell me," he said eagerly. "What was it like? She poured tea instead. "Listen to me," she said softly. "Never sing for strangers who give no names. Never perform in a place where shadows outnumber guests. And if you hear a hum beneath your song stop." The boy laughed nervously, thinking it a joke. "So you don't deny it?" Noora looked out the window, where the wind tugged at the curtains like invisible fingers. "I once sang for a family without a name," she said. "They paid me with something I still owe." That night, the hum returned soft, distant, almost kind. Noora lay awake listening, her hand resting on the wooden box. The ring inside pulsed once, faintly, like a heartbeat far underground. She whispered, "The house sleeps now," and the hum faded. Years later, after Noora's death, her niece found a box among her things. Inside lay the silver ring, cool to the touch, though the day was hot. She tried to wear it, but it slid off her finger and rolled across the floor, stopping in the shadow beneath the bed. That night, she swore she heard faint music and oud playing far away, joined by voices that hummed in perfect rhythm. Some say that when the wind blows in the desert, you can still hear the song, the one that wakes the house. But only if you listen too closely.